Lee Majors. What if the couple that looked perfect on every red carpet was actually falling apart behind closed doors? What if the toughest choice a man ever made wasn't a stunt on camera, but a vow to keep quiet, no matter how much it hurt? Stick with me, because the real story of Lee Majors and Farrah Fawcett isn't just about fame. It's about love, pride, betrayal, and a silence that lasted for decades. They weren't always icons. Before the posters, the action figures, and the screaming fans, Lee Majors was just Harvey Lee Yeary, a kid from Wyandotte, Michigan, born in 1939. After losing both parents when he was very young, he was raised in Kentucky by relatives. That loss didn't make him loud. It made him steady, calm, the kind of man who lets his actions do the talking. When he landed a role on the Big Valley in the mid-1960 seconds alongside Barbara Stanwyck, he went from unknown hopeful to rising star. Farrah Fawcett, born in 1947 inches, Corpus Christi, Texas, took a different route. She was the all-American beauty, smart, warm, and impossible to ignore. At the University of Texas at Austin, people noticed her instantly. By 1968, she was in Los Angeles, booking commercials and print campaigns with that sun-kissed hair and megawatt smile. Even before the world knew her name, you could feel she was destined for something bigger. They met in the late 60 seconds at a Hollywood party. You know that instant electricity you can't fake? That was them. Lee Majors had a calm, grounded presence. Farrah Fawcett was vivacious and charged with energy. He was private. She lit up every room. Together, it just clicked. They balanced each other in a way that made friends say, "Yep, that's it. That's the match." By 1973, they married, and everyone expected a forever story. The timing seemed dreamy. Lee Majors had just stepped into the role that would define him, Colonel Steve Austin in The $6 Million Man. The show took off lunchboxes, toys, posters, the sentence, "Works." Meanwhile, Farrah Fawcett was climbing fast. She was on sets during the day, doing endorsements at night, smiling for cameras in between. They were everywhere together. Premieres, parties, magazine covers. The message was clear: Hollywood royalty. But if you looked a little closer, even then, you could see hairline cracks. Now, career heat feels great until it burns. In 1976, Farrah Fawcett became Jill Monroe on Charlie's Angels, and the culture tilted. That famous red swimsuit poster? It sold in the millions and turned her into a phenomenon. Overnight, she wasn't just popular, she was a movement. But that level of fame doesn't just change your calendar, it changes your life. Photo shoots, interviews, brand deals, appearances, her schedule spun like a cyclone. Lee Majors tried to hold their routine together. He asked producers hers and his for Windows to eat dinner, to just be a couple. But Farrah Fawcett was determined to stand on her own. She didn't want to be seen as the wife of, she wanted to be Farrah Fawcett, full stop. Admirable? Absolutely. Easy on a marriage? Not even close. He'd go days barely seeing her, and when they finally crossed paths, it felt like two planes refueling mid-air, fast, necessary, and over too soon. And then came the moment nobody wants to live through. Betrayal in the headlines. Ryan O'Neal, a respected actor and, yes, an acquaintance Lee Majors had welcomed into his circle, was suddenly photographed hand-in-hand with Farrah Fawcett. The press went into overdrive. She was still legally married. Imagine discovering the end of your marriage at the same time as the rest of the world. That stings, that humiliates, that breaks something you can't explain to strangers. Farrah Fawcett didn't hide. She leaned into the new relationship, and magazines crowned her and Ryan O'Neal the next golden couple. For Lee Majors, it wasn't just about another man. It was about trust, and the way that trust, it was shattered in public. He didn't rage on talk shows. He didn't publish tell-alls. He did what few celebrities ever do. He said almost nothing. He disappeared into work and let the storm pass over him. By the time the divorce became official in 1982, the love story had been dead for a while. Lee Majors kept moving, starring in The Fall Guy, from 1981 to 1986, working steadily, keeping it professional. Friends said the experience changed him. Still charming, still solid, but more guarded. Meanwhile, Farrah Fawcett lived loudly, because that's how the world required her to live. She chased challenging roles, hit highs and lows, and stayed under the spotlight with Ryan O'Neal, a relationship as passionate as it was turbulent. For years, Lee Majors barely spoke her name. When pressed in interviews, he kept it polite and distant. He once admitted he didn't watch Charlie's Angels back in the day, not out of spite, but because it hurt. Maybe you've done that too. Avoided a song, a street, a show, because of the memories sewn into it. Decades later, whispers of a private reunion floated around. A mutual friend supposedly tried to broker a quiet meeting. No cameras, no headlines, just two people closing a chapter. Word is Farrah Fawcett was open to it. She'd mellowed. She knew what they had once been. Lee Majors thought about it, then said no. Too many years, too much damage. He'd spent so long stitching those wounds closed, he couldn't risk tearing them open again. Then, the unthinkable. In 2006, Farrah Fawcett was diagnosed with a rare, aggressive cancer. She faced it like the fighter she'd always been, without filters. Her documentary, Farrah's Story, stripped away the gloss and showed raw courage. Millions watched and wept. Lee Majors watched from a distance too. He didn't reach out. To some people, that seems cold. To others, it's self-protection in its purest form, the kind of heartbreak that makes you freeze rather than fight. On the 25th of June, 2009, Farrah Fawcett passed away. Lee Majors released a short, tender statement, calling her an angel on earth, now an angel forever. But he didn't attend the funeral. In his mind, the goodbye had been said years earlier, in the quiet place where love and hurt sit side by side. Time moved on. Her swimsuit poster stayed iconic, but so did her bravery. Critics came to respect how seriously she took her work, especially later in life. Lee Majors eventually found a quieter happiness, marrying Faith Majors in 2002 and keeping their life low-key. No circus, no headlines, just peace. But if you listened closely when he spoke about Farrah Fawcett in rare moments, the edges softened. No bitterness, just a wistful weight. He didn't regret staying silent. He believed talking would have cheapened what they once had. And yet, silence can be its own confession. It says, "I never really got over it. Now, I want to hear from you." Do you think Lee Majors was right to keep silent? Or should he have reached out to Farrah Fawcett and tried to make peace before the end? Drop your take in the comments. If you love deep dive, heart on sleeve Hollywood stories like this, hit like, share this with a friend who remembers that red swimsuit poster, and subscribe for more true, untold journeys behind the spotlight.